Hello, hello, hello. And today is not a combo guide, a tier list. Play this character, or me trying to influence you into the ways of destruction. What we are doing today is a series of case studies on all characters in Dragon Ball FighterZ. And as I said just before, we are covering Hakaishi no Beerus, the god of destruction. Now at a glance, if you look at Beerus, if you enjoy key control and mixing up your opponent with various ways of mixing up your opponent with loads of options, so offensively being such a nuisance to your opponent, then Beerus is definitely for you. Combined with the fact that he's able to move around the screen really well, this soccer kick, which is my favorite kick, then Beerus is definitely for you. So if you enjoy control, you enjoy continuous pressure and really methodical play, then Beerus is for you. Now, as always, in these case studies, I like to talk about zones. So you're going to hear me, the concepts we use are up close, mid-range, and far. So these are the grounded concepts I'm going to use because they're very easy to understand concepts without blurring the lines. I'm going to go through buttons on the floor, some in the air, supers, specials before we delve into the meat and potatoes, which would be the win conditions, potential win conditions for this character if you are looking at this character, and probably one or two things they're looking for in a partner. So let's begin. Up close, Beerus, 5L, obviously -3. Not the best range here. This goes right in front of him, but it is -3 in his 6 frames. His LL is -5, and he can chain 4 LL, so this is really good for kicking him up close. He literally flicks you because he's OP. His 2L can be chained as well, is -3, so these are very good kind of to end your strings. So here with Beerus. His 5M is -5, so his LL is -5 and his 5M is -5. As you see, it brings him forward. So indefinitely, you could keep pressuring your opponent like this. So your opponent does have to kind of make a decision, unless they want to get forever 5M. His 2M -9. However, this hits from way, way, way deep in town. So if you're like around here, this hits from very, very far out. So I don't know why you would use it if your opponent's on the ground, but so you can use it. It's 13 frames, so it's kind of the average speed of a kind of a classic 2M. But it's -9, so you're not going to be ending your strings obviously in this move here. It's 5H being -6 has great range. So this is a really good tool to use for Beerus. Throwing up the young Hakai. It's 2H, one of the better 2Hs in the entire game, being 13 frames, so on the upper echelon of 2Hs. So it is really fast, really good range as well. So very great for anti-airing those pesky super dashes up close, or even ending strings. Beerus also has in the air, JL. Really good JL, so combined with obviously the right assist, his JL can be really pesky. His JM is quite a bit difficult to cross up with Beerus with his JM, so you have to be kind of close to the opponent like here to kind of cross up with there. So you have to be really smart with how you use it. His JH is one of his approach tools as well, so this is kind of used as an approach tool when you are moving around with Beerus. Now let's go straight into supers. So Beerus has he has 2 versions of his level 1. So in the air, if you do LM, it goes forwards. HS, it goes down forward. If you hold down the button, he does a level 2. Rest in peace to Goku trying to hold that. And he does that. Now his level 3, probably my favorite level 3 in the whole game. The young Hakai. 1 hit, 1 million damage. So that's his level 3 for his super. Now specials, Beerus has quite a number. Obviously being the god of destruction, Beerus has so many. So obviously he has 5S. You can't chain his 5S. One quick 5S here. His jump S in the air, he does 2. If you hold it down, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So as you can see from there, his 2S, he sends out his little ball here. Here he can kick it, depending on what normal you press. You can actually kick it like a football. Like there, depending on how your normals work, so Beerus can kick it. You can only put like 2 on the screen, 3 can live. But once you go for the next one, this is what happens. So these can be super dashed, so your opponent can super dash through these. So as you see that. No, Beerus obviously, that's why he's got a great 2H to kind of be ready for that. Beerus also has 236S, which is probably one of his best tools in the game. This here, as you see, Beerus is able to block after. So you're actually able to block here. So you won't get. So this is primarily used on when the opponent is knocked down, because it does take some start up. But Beerus is able to have 6 balls. You can flick them towards the opponent and really create unique situations where your opponent kind of has to deal with you. So if Beerus is doing this, combined with offense, if he does like 6M, Beerus can do some pressure. His 214S is invul, so Beerus can, if he's in the air, Beerus does have an invul option. So this is a good wake up option as well. That Beerus can use. You can be punished, so do watch out. Now, let's go to the 236s, because Beerus, let's go 214L first. So 214L with Beerus, you can dash after all of them. So Beerus will primarily use this. So you primarily use this in the corner, or if you have set up the right assist, Beerus can either go in front, go behind. Here with the right assist, Beerus can really mix an opponent up. This is primarily using combo enders or extensions with Beerus, because he has many ways to extend. Now let's go into the 236s, because this is where it kind of begins. So Beerus is 236L. If you let it go, Beerus does this move here. He does a kick. If you hold it down, Beerus plants the bomb and plants in the kick. So if you do the M version as well, Beerus can just leave it on top of your head. So this is primarily used on knockdown. So and if you hold it down, Beerus kicks. And Beerus you can really mix up your opponent with high lows here. So combined with assists, combined with the correct assists, Beerus can really set up the opponent to be a lot of hurt with a lot of block stun. Beerus can really mix up the opponent there. His H version is probably the most interesting of Beerus' toolset. So 2v6H by itself, as you see there, being +1 when they're crouching, +2 when they're standing. However, when Beerus holds down any other direction, it changes it significantly. So the opponent is crouching, is +6. I mean, standing is +6. If you hold down 2, so if you do 2v6H and hold down 2, Beerus is +6. If you press hold down forward, it's exactly the same. And the most interesting one is if you hold 8 or 9, Beerus can be up to +16. However, obviously this whiffs versus most characters. But this allows Beerus, it's much faster than doing the 2v6M version. So combined with the right assist, Beerus can really set up situations where opponent needs to block. So playing around with 2v6M and choosing your directions of where you're going with Beerus can really continue pressure. So if you use 2v6M2, he's +6. So Beerus can kind of indefinitely continue pressure. And your opponent, if they want a super dash, this is where it gets interesting. Beerus can actually extend. And look, the damage as well. This is an M starter. So regardless of what you use there, your opponent can do. And if you obviously choose to hold, so if Beerus chooses to hold, he's actually able to block. So Beerus can actually block and 2H. Because of the speed of his 2H, Beerus is easily able to 2H there. So this sets up unique mind games versus your opponent. And obviously a lot of damage, so Beerus can beat you now. I can stay here talking about specials all day with Beerus, but let's go straight into win conditions and game plan for the God of Destruction. Now, one simple win condition for Beerus, aside from the strings and all of the pressure he has, is it's really simple. 236S, the corner, and the dream. As long as Beerus is able to land this knockdown and set this up here, this situation here is very hard for your opponent to deal with. Now, the reason it's really difficult for an opponent here, let me take off. There we go. The reason it's really difficult for an opponent, I'll put a switch on. So it's really difficult for an opponent here because they can't super dash immediately. So this allows Beerus to set up very unique situations with 2v6S where he can be ready to counter his opponent. Because when 2v6S is up, the opponent can't super dash immediately. So once he sets up that unique situation, even if the opponent goes down tech, so if they go in the air, show you what the air option looks like. Even in the air, he has enough time to sit there and react to what his opponent's about to do there. So depending on the options you do there, Beerus can really set up these unique situations where you can really pin down the opponent. So playing around with 2v6S on the knockdown from C2H there, and cornering the opponent is simple for Beerus. Aside from 2v6S, Beerus also has 214L, combined with a lot of assists, combined with 2v6HS. As you see there, he's a big threat in the corner. As your opponent has to accept these mix-ups and they can't super dash in the unique situation. So it's something your opponent has to think about. Now, let's move on to what helps him as a partner. Now, we talked about 2v6S on the corner, but he's a lot more than that, right? Now, what is he looking for in a partner? He seems like Beerus has a lot, right? Now, Beerus from this far to mid-range, aside from having, obviously, 5S, which actually can be super dashed, 2v6S, which is a bit slow, 214L, 214H, Beerus really has no way. He really has no way of entering here versus his opponent. So, Beerus has no form of entry here. So what he really enjoys from a partner is a partner that controls the horizontal coverage or vertical. So what it looks like in practice, let's say with Broly. There, Beerus is able to use the strength of his obviously key blast that can be super dash. Combined, so with obviously with Broly, with Beerus, I'm easily able to set up orbs. I can sit here and set out orbs perfectly fine as Beerus, and it does give me the entry. So while I'm here hitting my opponent with orbs, so it looks like Broly's really helpful in that, and he also gives me that control. So if I'm in the air as well, it doesn't like Broly hits there, gotta be a bit faster. So with Beerus, you just gotta pick your spot. So it looks like Broly A is really helpful there. Now 17A doesn't really, I love what he said, Junanago. So it doesn't really look like it gives him the far to mid-range control. Especially here at mid-range, because Beerus' approach tools at mid-range are 5H and 2M. So if you use kind of this move here, potentially you could use 17 as well, because it is an assist that does come out. So while I'm here, you could use 17, but we saw with Broly, Beerus enjoys those assists that allow him to freely move around the screen as the God of Destruction he is while crossing his arms, and someone on the ground really allowing him to get closer. So he doesn't like 17 helps there. He also enjoys high block stun to use his vast mix-up options. So 17 on block is plus 35. So if you combine this with obviously just a normal string here like this, he enjoys using obviously 214L, whiffing the high, going low, or going high. Simple situations like this are what he enjoys. So that's a high block stun. Broly's plus 23, so probably not so much block stun wise. However, Broly probably used for another purpose. So that's what you gotta think about. And let's go to B assists. Now 17's B assist. This doesn't look like it helps him from far to mid-range, horizontal or vertical coverage. It doesn't really look like this helps him here. And obviously up close it's only plus 23. So probably might not be enough for Beerus here. As you see here, he has to be able to dash, recover and dash. So it probably might not be the one for him. Broly's B assist, plus 21, so it might not have the block stun. However, it does give Beerus the vertical control. So while Beerus is doing this here, Broly's there. For a bit of timing. Broly's also there. So while Beerus is doing all this, let's see if this works. Doesn't look like he works from here. I don't know why you'd be doing jump S from there with Beerus anyway, but you're probably doing this with Beerus. So Broly looks like it's a bit finicky. I bet you got to time it a bit with Broly, so this is something you got to think about when you're using the Broly B. Now let's go to C assists. Now we talked about Beerus, he enjoys far to mid-range horizontal vertical control. Now C assists have a unique property, that's plus 50, have a unique property of chasing the opponent. So for Beerus, someone like Beerus combined with this, definitely assists that he enjoys. And he's easily able to get a confirm. So if you combine that with this, Beerus is kind of doing this. Easy confirms for Beerus, and because of the block stun, Beerus can set up this situation where he's even going to do this, and then he's so much plus. So if you combine that with plus 50, so you can do all the things in the world. So if you just combine that with, see there, the C assist is obviously going to keep them grounded if they try to super dash, so that's really helpful for him. Now S Broly's C assist, obviously a horizontal beam, so naturally this will help Beerus obviously from here. So naturally that's obviously going to help Beerus, and being plus 32 he does give Beerus enough block stun to be able to super on reflect. It does give Beerus just enough block stun to set up a situation versus his opponent. That's something. These are things you kind of got to think about when you're playing as Beerus. Now let's move on to the assist on the other side. So we have Videl. Videl does have some type of coverage as well. So here, so she's only plus 21, so and 21 frames. So it looks like it's a great assist up close in mid range, but from far range, it's not really helping Beerus. And obviously on block, it's not really going to set up Beerus to give him these unique situations. Outside from obviously himself. See. It's not really going to help Beerus. Oh, I need bar, don't I? See, it's not really going to help Beerus there. So, you might have to stay away from Videl. And obviously, UI Goku's A assist, it does give him vertical coverage just above his head at the far to mid range. So if he is here slanging death orbs, UI Goku is there to kind of help Beerus there. So that's something actually potentially that could help him there. High block stun. UI Goku's only 25 for 25 frames, so probably not the best at helping Beerus here in this situation. Him being only plus 3, but it's still something that Beerus has to think about. It will allow Beerus to kind of set up these situations. So if Beerus was able to do 256H, if I do 256 and hold, I'm not holding, 1 second. I'm able to set up there with UI Goku, so potentially you could use that with UI Goku there too. Now we could speak forever about the win conditions and game plan of Beerus, but let's move straight into fighting against him. Now, what are you really looking for with Beerus? Now, as we talked about Beerus, how he needs help in the far to mid-range, horizontal or vertical control, because his options are actually defeated by kind of system mechanics. So the far range, Beerus doesn't really have threatening tools. So when he's down on a deficit, it's very hard for him to get the life lead. Yes, he has 246H here, some Super S. But aside from here, if he's chasing the opponent, he has really no way to engage with the opponent. He has 214L, 214M, 214H. except for this one tool here, except for 214H, which pretty much goes full screen. He has no really threatening way aside from this one tool, except for closing space. So aside from this full screen move here, there's nothing else Beerus has there to really kind of engage the opponent. All of his are reactionary moves or control. So when he's out of control, it's very hard for him to kind of gain or take that back. Secondly, Beerus in the mid-range, you talk about system mechanics. Without an assist, it's actually excruciatingly difficult for him to have a real deterrent against system mechanics in the mid-range. So around here, because of his range of his 5L and his 2M, Beerus is at threat of super dashes at this range. So super dashes, up back super dash, or any vertical approach when you're at mid-range is very hard for Beerus to deal with. Yes, he has these moves here, but simple things like a 5S or something like that will stuff Beerus here. So it's really hard for him to kind of deal with this, because all he has here at the mid-range, obviously a 2M to kind of engage with his opponent, but when they're in the air, it's really hard for him to control the opponent. So if he doesn't have an assist to kind of keep his opponent grounded, Beerus here has to be very smart. So as a Beerus player or fighting against Beerus, you have to be very, very smart at choosing your gaps of offense or when to engage, or having an assist. And without an assist, you have to be very, very patient and very, very methodical here. Now let's go before I spend another 10 years talking about Beerus. So with the God of Destruction, Beerus, we talked about win conditions for him as being as simple as 3 things: 236S, a corner, and a dream. The knockdown situations that he gains from using 236S on block, and your opponent super dash knock him out immediately, being very plus, puts Beerus in this unique situation where he's able to really control the opponent on the knockdown in the corner. And aside from using 236S, your opponent unable to hold back really allows Beerus to use the 214L, 214H pressure in the corner, where your opponent really has to guess, especially combined with 236H using 236H2 or 8. Beerus can really set up a situation where your opponent has to guess. We talked about in the partner how S Broly's obviously A assist was really, really helpful for Beerus. We saw there his A assist was able to give him that horizontal coverage, whereas B assist was helpful in some areas, and his C assist was very helpful to Beerus. What we saw with Andre 17, on the latter end, it wasn't very helpful in either or. High block stun as well, we saw with both their C assists were really helpful being plus 50, so it allowed Beerus to use his various mix-up options that Beerus has at his disposal because of the 236H options and because of 214L options. Fighting against Beerus, we talked about far range. He has no real threatening tools, so chasing a deficit or when he's down on life is excruciatingly hard. Yes, he has 214H that is nigh full screen, but aside from that, it's not a really threatening tool. Your opponent isn't really afraid of that. They'll throw out 5S's, they'll be in the air, because that's where opponents are most of the time, because we are playing a game where people can fly. Rip Roshi. And mid-range, the control without an assist is very hard for Beerus. So he has no real deterrent from the opponent using system mechanics. So at the mid-range, because of his 2M, his 5L range, his 5M range, and his close quarters combat, it's very hard for Beerus to keep control, obviously, in that mid-range. So it's something that they have to be really, really smart of using. But yeah, I hope you liked the video. Leave a like if you did. Comment if you did enjoy the content. As always, we're not trying to follow opinions. We're trying to break down characters for what they have, of where designs are, and how we can optimize the characters for ourselves, and how we can optimize around for the teams that we want to build. But yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.